I don't think I've ever been insulted by a game as much as this one. 0 out of 5. I cannot believe this game exists. Pokemon Arceus. Where should I start? Well, okay, let's jump right into the nitty-gritty before I pop off with my roast. I'm about 10 hours in to this title, and I just can't really do anymore. As far as I can tell, I've completed maybe a third of the story, if you want to call it that, and I've caught over 200 Pokemon of maybe 20 plus species, unlocked 2 of the 5 areas, but given the hardware limitations, I'm not expecting that the new zones will be so different than the ones I've already explored. My favorite website, as you guys know, howlongtobeat.com, calculates that completing only the main story and nothing else will take an average of 30 hours. Completing the main story as well as side content takes an average of 91 hours. And a completionist run, completing everything that's available, takes about 188 hours. So this game will most likely take you 8 or 9 weeks if you're able to play 10 hours a week, and you want to experience more than just the story. I just need to ask, like this game prompts me to ask this question. What does it mean for a game to be worth playing? I have a basic framework, at least in my head. At the core of every game, there's a contract between the player and the game developer, the creator. You, the developer, give me, the player, something fun and worth doing, and I, the player, pay for the experience, enabling you, the developer, the ability to create the game you want in the past, but also potentially to create new games in the future. The developer's existence is contingent on giving the player something worth playing, as well as the player's existence is contingent on the developer creating something worth playing. The developer's goal is balancing frustration and reward enough to catalyze a dopaminergic surge in their consumer's brain. And that's great. That's what fun is. The developer's ability to incite an emotional reaction in their Skinner box is where the art lies in video games. It's where my love for this medium lives. These are the transcendent moments when you forget you're holding a plastic remote and recall why you love these games so much. Because you lose yourself in them. Pokemon, despite being the highest grossing IP of all time, has one of the most basic gameplay loops at the core of its game. Hey, there's this cute furry thing and it helps you drive the plot if you collect them. Go and catch them and battle them and do stuff like that. Okay, I mean, they're cute and furry, like, why not? There's got nothing better to do. Yeah, and there's 151, so, there's like big variety. You get to choose your own teams of 6. It's fun, it's great. Here's some challenges. There's a bad guy. There's a bad guy! The Pokemon are particularly cute, and the turn-based combat was simple but rewarding. The worlds were fun to conquer, and getting to the top was difficult, while also being virtually guaranteed. The game captured not one but multiple generations. I myself absolutely loved the early installments, and in some ways they defined my childhood and inspired my love for this medium. My first game was Pokemon Blue, a game I played before I even knew how to read. By the way, wouldn't recommend JRPGs to illiterate children. A lot of insecurity born out of that experience. Until last year, Game Freak never changed nor innovated on that original formula in any significant way. It's been 20 plus years. Others have pointed this out, but Pokemon is one of the most stagnant game franchises. The lack of change in the most basic aspects of Pokemon gameplay still flabbergasts me. Some of the newest installments in the series still play like games from the 90s, with only their sleek visuals to set them apart from their earlier counterparts. The most that has been done is adding so many new, cute, furry things that the developers of the games became buried under them. The iterative process of simply adding more and more monsters created a massive strain on Game Freak's development team. This led us to the situation the games are in now, where any change, any shift is a gargantuan effort because it has to be applied to 500 plus monsters. The thing that has changed is the number one problem with developing these games. Enter Pokemon Arceus, the game that promised to reinvent the series. And while it reinvented far less than it promised, it did make some changes. Changes that, as far as I'm concerned, either were of little import or almost exclusively made the game worse. The changes can be bifurcated into two separate categories: aesthetic, which is to say visual, and functional, which is to say the moment-to-moment gameplay. Aesthetically, the perspective is now third person, over the shoulder, rather than the top-down isometric that we're used to, and you're able to see the Pokemon rather than encounter them only through a battle screen. The visuals are fine, given the hardware these games are running on. I'm not really as bothered by pop-in as other reviewers, and the game seems well optimized to me. If you'd like a better opinion on this, there's always Graphic Foundry. They're fantastic guys. I would trust no one if not them. The important point I'd make on this topic is that any visual improvement to the game, greater graphical fidelity, greater levels of animation, Pokemon being viewable in the world, exponentially eats at the developer's bandwidth, because each improvement needs to be applied uniquely to 500 plus Pokemon, as I described to you, and potentially to hundreds more moves and NPCs. That's why there's only 200 Pokemon in this game as of recording. That exponential decay of developer bandwidth is one of the reasons this game series behemoth is so resistant to change. Any change, no matter how small, requires immeasurable amounts of development. Functionally, the Pokemon are physically approachable now, rather than the random encounters that we're used to, and filling out your Pokedex is brought to the fore of the gameplay and the plot. Now, rather than your Pokemon's ability to overcome challenges born out in combat, the narrative is pushed forward by your ability to complete laundry lists. Exaggeration? Let me elaborate, and you can decide. In Pokemon Arceus, you advance the plot in only one manner, which is filling out your Pokedex. Your Pokedex has changed, though. Catch one Pokemon and get all of its information? No. No. Not anymore. There's many things you need to do to complete each entry. Let's look at Bidoof, for example. So, to complete Bidoof's entry, we need to catch 25 Bidoofs. We need to catch 7 heavy Bidoofs. Don't know what that means. Defeat 15 Bidoofs. Catch 2 different forms of Bidoofs. Evolve 1 Bidoof. And investigate the Bidoof that bothers the village. Wait, bothers the village? Investigate the Bidoof that bother the village. That seems grammatically incorrect. Okay, that's weird. And that is one of 242 Pokemon. This is no longer an index, it's a goddamn portfolio. I need a filing cabinet for all this info. And that's the only way to push the story, is by catching and doing all this shit. Before, I could complete a Pokemon game while catching as few Pokemon as possible, if I so chose. Always the phrase, gotta catch them all, was a suggestion, something we were incentivized to do, but never a requirement. If I so chose, I could take on the Elite Four, the final bosses of the series, with nothing more than my starter Pokemon. It would be tough. Not really. Now, in Pokemon Arceus, the game holds a gun to your head, demanding that you not only catch every Pokemon, but catch them time after time after time, and witness them doing the most useless activities. You cannot progress the plot without doing what essentially devolves into endless fetch quests. This is unbelievable for the one significant change to be the most bewildering and aggravating game loop I've ever witnessed. I am literally doing paperwork, documenting the goings-on of fictional creatures. Do you know how many Bidoofs I've caught? Do you have any idea what catching more than 10 Bidoofs does to a person? It's bad. Half mania, half depression. It's a bad combo. These games were always about what the Pokemon could enable you to do. You developed your team with your own choice of themes at its core, and grew to love those Pokemon for the moments in battle where you triumphed because of their grit or skill or luck. Now, they're throwaway tokens. There was this one time I placed my main Bidoof in storage to train another Pokemon, and when I returned, I couldn't remember which one it was because I had 20 or 30 Bidoofs. So I just chose a random one of the other 50. Right? I mean, shrug. Like I couldn't tell the difference. They're all the same. Who cares? And my younger self, playing the games that he grew up with, would have spat on me for suggesting that one Pokemon is indistinguishable from another of the same species. He'd grown to love his Bidoof, and to him, it was irreplaceable. Why catch another? This game requires you to consider the Pokemon as indistinguishable items rather than distinguished partners. Even if you were obsessed with catching them all, which I was not, but I understood the completionists, you'd still only need to catch one of each species. Now, Jesus Christ, you have to catch so many, and to do so much dumb shit with them over and over. I'm ranting, but I can't help but rant. This game came out months ago, but I can't get it out of my head. And it's here I return to the social contract I described at the beginning of this video. The developer gives the player something fun to play, and the player gives the developer their patronage. What the fuck has Game Freak done in this game that justifies my investment of time and energy? What hasn't changed is stale and outdated, and what has changed is mind-numbing. This game tries to make me into an accountant, and I'm blown away they tried. Game Freak could have had the Pokemon brand grow along with its audience, constantly innovating and iterating, as other Nintendo brands are known for having done. Instead, they've built the most valuable IP in the world on the back of an irredeemable game loop. Their audience asked for changes, and to give them credit, they did shake up the formula, but I'm not giving them a thumbs up for changing if the evolution makes the playing experience worse. Before, I was bored. Now, with Pokemon Arceus, I'm pissed.